So I want to make a little game, and in this game there's going to be two circles, and one circle is controlled by the computer, and the other circle is controlled by you, the user. We are not going to make the full game in this episode, but it's the beginning, and one of the goals is the user has to avoid touching the other circle. So you have to kind of run away from the computer circle. So let's start first making a program that draws two circles, and one is moved by the user and the other is moved by the computer, and then let's come back and find out how we can detect if they are touching or not. So we can start with this very simple program, just setting the size of the screen, the black background. I'm removing the fill color and just have a draw function that is erasing the screen. So first let's draw here one ellipse, and it's gonna be wherever the mouse is, mouse X and mouse Y. And let's give it a size of 100. We could define the size at the beginning of the program. So we could say here that the diameter is an existing keyword. So I'm gonna use diam, so float, diam is 100. So I'm gonna use that here instead of the 100. Diameter, and let's set a color for our circle, stroke, red, green, and blue. I'm gonna make it green. And let's see, oh, I forgot here an E. Let's run the program. And okay, so now I have already my user circle here moving where the mouse is. Now let's add another circle moving randomly. For that I will use the noise function, and since the noise function takes one parameter that is slowly changing, I'm gonna add this here, float a is 0, and this a will be increasing slowly, a equals a plus 0,01. Okay, so now let's draw another circle, maybe in another color, like yellow, which is red and green mixed. Stroke 255 to 55, 0. Then I'm going to draw here an ellipse at x, y, and the same size, diameter. So both circles are going to be the same size. Now I have to define what is x and what is y. So I'm going to declare here two variables, float x and float y, and they are going to be equal to, I can use the noise function, so noise of a, I think is the variable, right? A here. Noise a, comma 10. I'm gonna add this comma 10, so we can then get another noise here with the same variable, noise of a, but I will use a 20, so we get two slowly changing values which are not exactly the same. If we don't add the comma 10, just type a in both cases, then the circle would be moving diagonally, which is not very interesting. Okay, so this gives us a number between 0 and 1, so we have to scale it up. In this case, we can multiply it by the width. You could also use map if you prefer. I'm going to type here height. Okay, so we have x and y, and let's see, am I forgetting something? No, there it is. So there is my circle. Okay, so I have a circle located at x, y, and I have a circle located at mouse x and mouse y. Now, how can I know if the two circles are touching? I want to know if there's no distance. So are they like now crossing each other, or are they far away from each other? Let's have a look at how we could calculate this. To find out if these two circles are touching, we have to calculate the distance between the two centers of the circles. So we have to know how long is this line here that goes from one center to the other center. We know that this circle is 100 pixels tall, and same for this one, 100 pixels. Well, it's in every direction. Well, it's 100 pixels tall or wide or diagonally, like from side to side is 100 pixels. So we know that the distance from the center to any point in the circle, this line here, is going to be 50. 50 is half of 100. So if this line is 100 pixels long, then this line here is 50 pixels. So we can say that the diameter is 100. That's the name it receives, diameter, and radius is 50. The radius is half of the diameter. So when the two circles are touching each other, what happens then? What is the distance from one center to the other? Let's draw the two circles here. This is going to be one circle, and this is the other circle, which is touching at this point here. We know that this distance here is 50. That's the radius. And we know that this other distance here, from the center to the place where they touch, is 50. So when the two circles are touching, the distance from one center to the other center is 100. That's the moment they are touching. So if the distance is 100 or less, then we know they are touching. For example, if the two circles are overlapping, then the distance from the two centers is less than 100. If we separate them and they are just touching, then it's 100. If we separate them further, then there's some space here between the two circles and the distance is greater than 100. And we are lucky because processing gives us a function called dist that returns the distance between 2 points. So this would be distance from x1, y1. These two, for example, would be the position of this point here. And then we have x2, y2, which would be the position of this, the center of the other circle. And this returns a float value. So we can say here float d equals distance from one point to another point. And then we have to check if this distance is greater than 100 or not. So that seems quite easy. Let's calculate this here. At this point in the program, we know both x and y, which are declared above here, and we know mouse x and mouse y, which are automatically declared. So I'm going to say here the float d equals distance. So it's dist, parentheses, x, y, and then mouse x with uppercase x and mouse y with uppercase y. So now in the d variable, I know already the distance between the two centers. Let's now check if it's greater or not than the diameter. So let's add here an if statement. If d is greater than, I could type here 100 or just diam, that's the variable that has the diameter. If it's greater, then we could do something like maybe change the stroke weight randomly. So I'm gonna make a random stroke weight between 0 and 10, and otherwise use a stroke weight of 1. Oh, I wrote this the other way around. I wanted to say that if the distance is greater than the diameter, they are not touching. In that case, use a stroke weight of 1. So I'm gonna cut this and write it the other way around. In that case, the width is normal, it's just 1. And if they are touching, then use a random weight. So let's see this now. Here are circles, and now when they touch, they are just flashing there like crazy. So now you know how to use the dist function to calculate the distance between 2 points. And you know how to use that to know if two circles are touching or not.